bringing forth this fact over the past several episodes that the cradle of education is the home, and that we've shifted away from that cradle so much so that today we are basically abdicating. And you can have a lot of money being spent on high-end education, international schools, and all these things. But at the end of the day, if that is not happening from the home, if there is no kind of education happening from the cradle of education, from where it all started, we are missing the point big time. And in the episode today, I want to continue on what I built on yesterday, because yesterday we started speaking on what aspects should you as a parent focus in raising up your child, even as you assume that heart, even if you put on the heart of a life coach in your home. This is going to be interesting today. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So the status quo dictates that we go to school, we earn good grades, and hopefully we get a job. And it's like a linear fashion, and everyone else is supposed to go through the same thing. But you and I know already that that is not necessarily happening. And it's not that it's gone south just the other day. It's been long, decades have passed when that format has not been working. It's just that we do not want to acknowledge, we do not want to accept, and probably the reason as to why we do not want to openly acknowledge that that format is no longer working is because we think that there is no other method, there is no other way, there is no other avenue for people to make it in life other than having good grades and getting a degree and making sure that you're at the top of the class and so on and so forth, and you get the good job. We think that there is no other avenue of working. And I do believe with all of my spirit and with all of my heart that God cannot have created human beings so that they can be academically successful, all of them. I think God created us in different ways, making some guys to be academically inclined and making most guys basically to have some kind of way to have literacy come in their lives and so on. But at the end of the day, the way God created a human being is to have that human being with a mission, every human being with a mission that they're supposed to accomplish, with a vision for their lives. And that's why God gifted and created those people in different ways. Some guys have different ways of thinking. Some have passion for different things. Some can do things with their hands. Some can be motivated with their hearts. Some with their heads. We are all different, and we look at different environments in which we have been placed, in which we come from, and they have different opportunities and they have different extrapolations of things that can be able to happen. So not all of us are supposed to go through the same thing and the same system. And I'm telling you this, that we have all successfully, or we have all thought that the way success is going to come is through the education system. And let me just put a caveat here. I am not saying in any way that we should dump, throw the baby out with the bathwater. We should dump the whole thing all together and maybe look for another answer. I am saying that the way it has been positioned as the silver bullet, as the sole solution to the joblessness scourge is wrong. The education system is not, and I repeat for clarity, and I repeat, it is not the silver bullet for high achievement. Never was meant to be, and never is it supposed to be. I'm talking from the angle of the divine. It's just that us as human beings, we've decided to position it as the silver bullet, and we pump in money in there to such an extent that people sell themselves and their bodies so that they can be able to get the equivalent of academic papers. And by the way, for some it works for them, and so on, putting their dignity on the line, and so on and so forth. Some go to high risks of forging their academic papers. I was talking to a friend of mine some time back, and this friend was sitting in a particular board, and that board interviewed an individual who was highly gifted, and that individual got the job. But then when they were going through the papers, this friend of mine realized that the papers were forged. See, this organization was looking for papers and not for the skill. The man was gifted, the man was skilled, but they did not have the papers, so he had to go to the high risk of forging the academic papers. That's where the problem is. We are thinking that the academic papers are the in thing and the only holy grail to success. And at the same breath, we are stifling gifts, stifling talents, stifling abilities, stifling passion, stifling purpose. There are hordes and hordes of people who can do a better job than a manager who has 6 degrees somewhere. But that's just the fact that they do not have a degree, they do not have the academic papers, they are sidelined. See, that is the unfortunate way the world operates. But we have been called out, we've been found out by the system itself, in that there are millions upon millions of people who are qualifying for from academics and so on and so forth, but they are not getting the traditional jobs, so to speak. Where is the problem? The problem is that system is not the silver bullet we thought. And that's why I am encouraging us. Because if you look at the people that are making it in life today, even the organizations that are employing people, they have started moving away from requiring people to have a college degrees and so on and so forth. Just that people can have some competencies, some crucial competencies, some crucial skills, some crucial dispositions. These things that are not taught in schools, they are not taught in the academic arena. They're the ones that organizations are now looking for on top of the education. Probably just someone can read and can write and can reason, but they have these competencies. Listen, I am not in any way diluting the education system. I am saying for the umpteenth time, it is not the silver bullet for achievement. So where is the solution? One of the solutions that I am suggesting to us is to go back to the cradle of education, because that is where we can educate and we can life coach these young people for the next generation. If our generation itself is suffering, as I speak, from the joblessness scourge, there are very many master's degrees, people with master's degrees who are walking around jobless. You advertise for a diploma job and the master's guys come up. Where is the problem? And I can tell you this at the same breath, there is a lot of opportunities on the ground and on the earth for people to use those opportunities to earn a living, to create value and earn a living. So I'm saying that we need to go back to the cradle of education, which is the home. And the parent positions himself or herself as a life coach to that child and starts showing that child the ropes, because the parent already knows what works and what doesn't work. We know. It's just that we do not want to admit it's no longer working. We already know. We've gone through it. We've hunted for jobs for years on end. We've ended up having to do some lousy jobs because of the education system that we went through. We know it's not working, but why are we faithfully taking our kids through the same thing that is not working? So I'm saying, let's go back to the drawing board. And if you're going to position yourself as a life coach for your child, there are several aspects that I need to teach you that you need to focus on seriously. And the first aspect, we spoke about that in the previous episode, and we say that you will need to teach that child about their purpose in life. That life is not about accumulation. Life is not about paying bills only. Life is not about surviving. Life is not about quote unquote making it. Life is about fulfilling your purpose, your mission, your God-sent calling, and your destiny on earth. That is what life is all about. And we're supposed to start finding out where that is from the earliest of ages, to be able to know what it is. And God gives us hints for this. You see, one kid is gifted in one thing and is not gifted in the other. One can be able to draw, one can be able to sing, one is gifted academically, one is just has a knack for business, one is a good writer, one is a good orator. They are all differently gifted. And that's where the hints for their purpose comes from. So as a parent and as a life coach, it is your responsibility to start calling that purpose out and start discipling them and channeling their efforts towards serving that purpose. Yes, we're still living in a world that accepts, and it is so steeped into the education system, but that's where you come in to supplement what the education system is giving, and what is not giving you supply. And you teach them that you are a man of purpose, you are a woman of purpose, and you start calling out that purpose. And I say that the parent is the one with the sole mandate, divine responsibility, who has even the heart energy to call out these things from the child. It is your responsibility as a parent, as a life coach. Start from there. And you tell me, but Lawrence, I do not know how to do this. I don't even think I'm a life coach. You do know. You see your child. You are able to discern. You don't need a rocket science. You don't need some education in life coaching to know what your child is gifted at, and to start calling that child as they appear, and even as you see them. And I'm not talking about the selfish thing of, I'm a doctor, so my child must be a doctor. I'm a lawyer, and this family is for lawyers. I'm not talking about that crazy kind of thinking. I'm talking about recognizing the difference, the uniqueness, the giftedness in each individual, each unique individual, and start calling it out. Not just stepping and abdicating your responsibility as a parent. And I've paid school fees, I've sent them to school, and it's up to them to figure it out. It is not up to them to figure it out. That's why you're a parent. You're not a parent to put food on the table and clothes on the back and pay rent and so on. You are a parent to position these guys, especially in terms of their transitions in life, and guide them and hold their hands and tell them, this is where your light is shining, this is where your candle is burning. Keep that candle burning in this direction, in this angle. This is where the wind is blowing, this is where the world is moving, and this is what I feel God is calling you to explore together with them. Make it open. That is your first responsibility as a life coach. And the second responsibility, I can tell you, this is big, this is major, this is massive. As a life coach, your second responsibility is to shape and mold and strengthen the self-esteem, the self-image, and the self-concept of that child. Three things: the self-image, the self-esteem, and the self-concept of the child. It comes to identity. Let me tell you, the biggest crisis you see on the face of the earth today is an identity crisis. Go to Instagram, go to Facebook. I'm telling you, you see people doing crazy stuff because they have an identity crisis. They're trying to ape this and trying to ape that, trying to be this, and all the while they are glorious in themselves, in the way God created them. Identity is not about how you look only. It is not about what things that you pursue only. Identity is also connected to your mission and to your purpose and to the things that you are called to do. So as a parent, it is up to you to shape that mission, that vision, that self-discipline, that self-esteem, that self-image, that self-concept of the child from the home. Let me tell you this, it is not done in school. The teacher at school doesn't have the time enough to call out the self-identity of a child, the self-image of a child, the self-concept of a child, to form it and to call them names. In fact, on the flip side is the one that happens. You find that a child is called names by friends, and a child suffers in silence. I mean, they call them names and they paste lousy, ugly names on them. And sometimes people in authority do the same thing. You are a fool. A teacher tells that child, you will never amount to anything. We've had stories of very many people being told that, and it limits them. See, that is where the parent comes in at home to mold that opportunity. I remember very well. And sometimes these people who normally call these people names, call these children names, sometimes maybe they think they're doing it in a good way. The well-meaning, because it's a punishment, the child is going to feel bad and change. It is wrong, but they think it's well-meaning. I remember very well in primary school, there's a guy who stole a biro pen top, or maybe just a single pen or whatever it is. A small misdemeanor. Do you know what that child was made to do? He was made to wear an ugly coat that has been written and translated that he's a thief. And he walked with that coat the whole week. The whole week. His self-identity, his self-image, his self-concept being rusted away with that image, with that label that he walked carrying for days on end. No wonder later on, when some gang started terrorizing the village, he was the ringleader. His identity had been shaped by that. Your responsibility as a parent is to start molding the self-image, to see this child as God sees them, so that they can also see themselves that way, that they are needed, that they were meant, and they are needed here on this earth, and they are called, and they have a destiny, they have a place, that they're special, they're unique, they're important. I'm not talking about sugarcoating this thing. I'm talking about it from the reality angle, because there is no one useless. And so the identity, the self-image, and the self-esteem is shaped from the home and not from the school. That's why you and I, as Life Dad, we've got to come to that level where we are doing exactly that. We are shaping this self-image, shaping this self-concept, shaping their self-identity from the home. That is where this world is going. Someone who knows where they're going. You see, there's a saying, an ancient Roman saying that says, the world, the crowds, and sometimes even the grave, they stand aside for a man who knows where he's going, but they sweep the aimless drifter away. The man who knows where he's going is a man of high identity, self-identity, self-image, self-concept, self-esteem. They're intact. And the parent, as a life coach, that is your sole responsibility. Because at the end of the day, this child might be able to monetize their purpose, their passion, their gifts, their talents, even if the school system is not doing that for them. And by the way, I've created a very good resource for free so far that you can be able to get from my website. If you go to lifesignatures.life/purpose to profit, you're able to download that gift that tells you how you can move from purpose and start earning out of it. That is the goal. That is one of the answers to the joblessness scourge. I am bashing the education system, I'm praising it, and at the same time I'm offering an answer. Why am I offering that answer? Because it's working for me. Tomorrow we tackle something else, but until then, be the life coach for that child or for those children. That is your calling. That is why you're here on earth. Bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.